Hey guys, got an update on the Ols. Big block is out. The LS is in. Everything's mocked up. Everything's still pretty dirty. Everything needs to be neatened up. But I'll give you guys a rundown on where we're at so far. So we got our turbo intercooler mounted up in the front. That's the tranny cooler. This car is retaining AC, so AC condenser is still there. We did keep the factory truck location on the AC compressor. I don't know how much of this you guys can see, but there it is. So that's going to stay there. We did a relocation bracket that I made up for the power steering pump. Got light in our eyes. So it moves it from where it used to be on these bolts, and then it just moves it up so it's off the steering box. Because these G-bodies come crashing right down on the steering box. So we did a little relocation. I'll show you that better once I drop the car. Motor mounts were the Dirty Dingo ones. We can't really see them. They were the offshoot of the Dirty Dingo. Same thing, but who knows who made them. eBay special. We made our own cross pipe. That just runs right over to the other manifold. Here's our 4-inch. We made a 4-inch down pipe. It's pretty tight in there, but it's got space. Looks tighter on the camera than it really is, but it does have some room. Even up top. That's our 4L80. We're running 6 AN line for everything on this. And what we're going to do with exhaust, this used to have an X pipe right here. So I turned the one around, so now they're both facing the same direction. And we're going to shoot these out across to where that tubular cross member is. They'll turn right here. And I don't know what we're going to do here. I don't know if I'm going to do like a 4-inch dump out the side, or maybe just leave it so it dumps onto the ground. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that quite yet. We're going to figure something out, I guess, for that. We're still kind of figuring a lot of things out here as we go. Problems keep. I still got to build a whole fuel system. But that's where we're at with that. Alright guys, I'm going to lower this down. There's our down pipe, some of it, with the wastegate plugged right into the pipe. That's how much we're losing of the splash panel so far. I don't know. Cutting may continue on that thing. We'll see how it goes. That's the cold side. Off the turbo. Man, everything's got a glare in here. So that's where we're at right now as far as the bottom goes. Alright, I'm going to bring you up top. Hey guys, here's another shot of that down pipe. It's not finished well. That's all tacked, but we're not finished with that yet. There's a manifold behind it. Put some light in there. That O2 bung's just going to get blocked off. That'll end up being welded in on the backside, on the exhaust side of the turbo. But that's where we're at with that. Alright, I'll show you the top now. Okay guys, here we are up top. So we got the fuel rails on, the coils are on. Those 120-pound injectors, because this car is going to run E85. This is pretty much a sloppy build, though. It's a stage 2 sloppy 7875 billet. There's our down pipe. You still really can't see nothing. There's our down pipe there. It's tight getting around an AC box in the G body. It's got space. Doesn't really look like it on camera, but nothing's touching. Does have some room. It's tough to retain AC in these things. So we're gonna do Terminator X in this car, which is new for me. Well, this whole thing, turbo, is new for me too. Not, at least on the gas side. The diesels I've done some stuff with, but not so much gas. We did the copy, Holley fabricated intake manifold. I know those things ain't the best and all that, but it was, I didn't really care, I guess. It was the right money, and I just don't like the look of the plastic truck one, and the other ones were just, you know, this was inexpensive, and it looks cool, so that's why I bought it. It may not be the best functioning one, but I bought it for the looks. There's our cold side. It comes down, runs through a headlight bucket. Well, the headlight and the core support. It didn't mess with any of the actual factory headlights. It ends up being just below them. And then that intercooler sits up top. This is going to get a couple more brackets to hold it. That's the aluminum radiator that was used with the big block. That's going to work with this too. Everything lines up pretty good. I ain't going to redo anything. It's perfect radiator for this. We did F-body fans on this thing. They were on the big block too, so I'm going to use them on this also. This is our relocation of the power steering pump. I'll show you the, oh, here's my first rendition of this relocation plate. So this was never supposed to be cut out. So that was gonna, that bolts, so that was gonna flip. The beauty of this is I flipped my template up back and forth so much that I ended up upside down. That's why this whole thing here was no good. But gotta watch that mirror image, man. It bit me in the ass on this one. So this should have just stayed solid like that one. Well, we got no light here, buddy. All right. So see how that's just a three bolt down there. That plate goes right over where the other one was. You do have to cut that bracket some and make it flat because they're all at 3 different levels. So I did just did that with a straight edge and made the bracket flat. And then this bracket, actually, I'm going to show you a better way. I'm going to show you how I did that. This is how I did that power steering relocation. This is the LS power steering alternator bracket right here. So I made a plate that covers over this and moves the power steering pump over here. This is the plate. This is the first rendition. This one's junk. But anyway, these 3 pads that the power steering pump bolts on aren't flat. So you have to kind of make them flat. So I did it with a straight edge. So if you take a straight edge across here, and you're on that flat, even, so it has no rocket hits over there. Because these 3 are not the same height. So these have to be flat. So I took and cut, I ground all that material off to make these flat. Once they were flat, I bolted this plate on. Get it going the right way. This plate got bolted on like so, and then that moved the power steering pump up there. Then we're relocated up here. This didn't need to be cut out. None of this was necessary. But I kept flipping my template, so eventually it ended up backwards, and then I ended up cutting the death out of it. But this is how that worked. This is 1/4-inch aluminum. Once you have that plate bolted on there, to make your power steering pump sit right, whatever the thickness is from that plate, from this face to that face, these are the shims you're going to need. You're going to need this size shim, the back size shim, and then whatever this ends up after it's ground down. So, and these shims, they end up all different size, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure they were all different. So you'll have a shim. It's this thickness, this thickness, and then this thickness for the three, for these, you know, once you bolt it on, this doesn't matter anymore. But you need all these same shims because you're coming up straight off of that. So whatever these are is what it's going to end up being up at the relocation spot. So when you relocate that, and that's bolted on there. Where are we? Right here. Yep. So whatever that spacing is from the back of that plate, it's going to end up being the same spacing up here so that sits correctly. So the power steering pump sits straight and the way it should be. I'll show you what I came up with. If anybody really wants to know, you can shoot me a message or leave it in the comments. And maybe I can go over this better. This is, yeah. So here's the pump with the relocation. So we have our 3 bolts way down there. Those are those 3 bolts. That aluminum plate, it runs up behind the pump pulley. Pulley goes on after. And then you have your plate behind it. Power steering pump bolts on. The power steering pump has those shims that I was talking about. Which is right in here. Yeah, right there. So those are the shims that I had made. Well, one's a bolt. I think bolts worked out perfect for that shim on most of them. So that's what we did. We shimmed the pump so it was correct. Puts everything back in line. This pulley does run close to the new plate, but I think it's good enough. None of this is tested, so I don't know if it's going to work. It looks like it's going to work. I like it. We'll see what happens. I added this pulley because when that belt wrapped around, it used to pretty much pull straight down to the old pump. Well, it's got a lot of area on that so the belt don't squeal. When I did this and that belt ran straight over, it didn't have a whole lot of contact with the pulley right up here. So maybe, I don't know if it would have screeched or not. I had an extra pulley. That pulley with a starter bolt, with an extra starter bolt and a washer works perfect. Everything works out. It doesn't rub the case. Everything is good. And then you end up with this turn, so it's got more wrap on that alternator pulley. So it shouldn't squeal. Putting this pulley in made it so it's the factory link belt again. This is the same belt that was on, it's the truck, van, whatever belt, the factory accessory. So relocating this and then adding this second pulley puts everything back to where it should be. At least on this it did. If somebody makes this bracket it's a little different, I don't know. But I'll let you know how this works out long term. I think it's going to work fine. We'll see what happens. Alright guys. Like, share, subscribe. See ya.